Rise to the top with Valor Energy and their new partnership with the Professional Fighters League, fueling champions inside and outside of the smart cage. Valor's nitrogen-infused orange cream and blueberry tart delivers a smooth, creamy flavour with 175 mg of natural caffeine to fuel your day. Ready to rise to the top? Grab your Valor Energy today, available on Amazon. All right, everybody, welcome in. It's the betting show, the Sheehan show, here on Sherdog.com, and we are strapped in for another big week in the world of mixed martial arts. The big UFC 312 card coming up this weekend, and it's one of those cards where it's pretty top heavy, if we're being honest, but I think there's one fight of the two that's kind of flying under the radar a little bit, and I think maybe the later we get in the week, maybe it won't. And I think the main event is a rematch that I feel like as we go on throughout the week as well, people will get more psyched about it. And I actually interviewed Eric Nixick last week, so I've started this process already, I think. And watching back, I watched back the first fight in full. And did a podcast over it, and this is probably my third or fourth podcast now, nearly talking about this fight. So I'm interested. I'm hyped for it because, like, the first fight was a good fight. Okay, was it a fight of the year or anything like that? No, but it's a fight that was very, very close, very competitive, and I think the end of the fight makes you think that the next one could be a lot different in terms of the approach. Maybe the outcome with a close decision might be very similar, but we'll see about that, obviously. But I'm looking forward to it. And the co-main event of Zhang Weili against Tatiana Suarez, I think that should speak for itself nearly, but I think it's flying under the radar a little bit. With that said, we will look ahead to that in a second, but let's look back at last week first. And again, a bit of a 50-50 week, I suppose, for us. I can't believe I had my flyer last week. Anyone who listened last week, I think it was plus 480, wasn't it? Pavlovich and Rosenstruck to go to a decision. And I changed it to Bueno Silva to win by a sub. And obviously she didn't. Now, I changed my bet and had it over 1.5 rounds of plus 180. That did hit. So that's good. That's a one sniff at a plus 180 bet. And I also had a plus 150 bet with MVP Michael Venom Page hitting. So we hit 2 from 4, and we didn't hit the flyer last week. The two we didn't hit were Mateus Cahood over in Octagon, who all the favorites won over there but him. it was the wrong pick. And obviously Israel Adesanya as well. Sometimes you look at the lines and you think, oh, what mistake have the bookies made here? And you know what? The bookies had us last week. They really, really did, because that was a very, very tempting line, and I know a lot of people were tempted by it, but it turned out to be a smart play to draw people out by the bookies, because Imam obviously went in there and he got the win in the end. So the record so far is pretty good. 2 from 4 last week, 0 from 1 in the flyer. We haven't hit a flyer yet through 3 weeks, but we have hit 9 of our 13 bets, which that seems too good to be true. Maybe I need to recount that again. But that's sorry. And you know what I do? I do need to recount it again. It's actually 9 from 15. Never mind. Still 9 from 15. We'll take it as we go on to next week. Right. I said I a couple of months ago I was going to do my pay-per-view parlay. I might put one out here at the end, but I really put a lot of effort into picking out a parlay for this week. But there's one fight especially which I think I don't know. Do you know what? There's 2 fights I can't really pick a winner of. So I'll see at the end, but I as of now, no pay-per-view parlay this week, and we'll come back for the next pay-per-view. But we'll see. Maybe I can be dragged into it by the end. But I do like my bets this week, and I'm going to start off with the title fight with the co-main event, and I'm going to go for the plus 105 bet of Tatiana Suarez. I gave her at the start of the year. She's still plus money in some places. In other places, she is just the favourite. Some places it's dead even. This fight is a back and forth in terms of prices. And I'll be honest, I was steadfast in my view, that Tatiana Suarez is going to be my pick up until maybe yesterday. And then I said to myself, do you know what, Shawnee, now, don't just pick on what you think. Go and watch some fights again. So I went away and I watched a bit of Zhang Weili. I watched plenty of Zhang Weili, but bits and pieces of the last two fights. And I watched the full last fight of Tatiana Suarez against Jessica Andrade. It was only a round and a half. And I watched a piece of one of her other fights as well. And I can't get away from the wrestling of Tatiana Suarez. I just cannot get away from it. I look at her and I look at the way, and we could talk about opponents, but the way she took down Jessica Andrade so effortlessly when she wanted to, it's not going to be as easy as that, I don't think, against Zhang Weili. But I think she has that in her back pocket all the time. Another thing I took from other fights is and this is a real compliment. Maybe people don't think it is, but she continues to go for it. If she misses 10 takedowns, and that's never really happened, but she will go for it again. If she takes someone down, they stand up, she will go for it again. But set it up well and not just headlessly go for it. I also thought her striking looked a lot better in the last fight. I actually think that last fight, watching it back again, maybe directly afterwards, we were, we said, look, she looked good, maybe a bit rusty and things like that. The rustiest part I thought of that display for Tatiana Suarez was how quickly she went for submissions on the ground. Now, she ended up getting one in the end, but does that paper over the cracks? Yes, it does. But I would say that she went back and she watched that. Her trainers, Patchy Mix, obviously training with one of the best bantamweights in the world, her fiance. And they looked at that and they said, look, Tatiana, you're going to be fighting Zhang Weili here. There's no need to jump on submissions. If there's one there, okay, go for it if you're in the right position. But if you're in the right, what's that old adage they always say, position over submission? I think that's the key to this fight. Because I believe Tatiana Suarez will get Zhang Weili down. I just think if she overcompensates or goes for it too much and goes for those submissions, that she will only be able to continuously take her down up until a point. She has to be careful. She has to be more respectful of this opponent, I think, than any of her past opponents, and wrestle. And I think if she does that, I think she'll win the fight. Like Zhang Weili, look, if the fight is standing, Tatiana's actually, as I said, she's after getting very good at the outside game and being long, but still and all, as good as she is there, you'd have to fancy Zhang Weili with her speed and her ability to come inside to be able to figure out that conundrum. An additional, having said that, onto that, we do see in title fights more often now than ever, no matter what the ability of each opponent is, it turns into a close kickboxing match, which again, I would not rule out here at all. But I do think Tatiana Suarez will not abandon what brought her to the dance, and that is her wrestling. This is a fight that I could very well wake up on Sunday morning and say, Zhang Weili's won 5 rounds, and she just kind of picked her off and the outside. Absolutely could see that. But I think it's one of those ones where for me, not you, me, there's sometimes a reluctancy, is that the right word? Reluctancy, yeah, maybe, I don't know, to pick against the long reigning champion and say, they could never be beat. And that's probably not the case for someone fighting Tatiana Suarez, with her being the challenger, up until maybe a year ago. I think people have lost a little bit of belief in her, right? So it's back to the, I'm going to pick the champion until I see the champion lose. And that's fine. I've said that about certain people as well. It can be a bit of a cop-out at certain times. And I think it'd be a bit of a cop-out here from me. Now, there's nothing wrong with picking Zhang Weili. If anyone out there, as I said, I wouldn't be too shocked if she won at all. But I just can't look past how good the wrestling is of Tatiana Suarez. How she finds a way every single time. And she does find a way every single time. She's 10-0, 7 finishes, 5 submissions. I don't want to look past Zhang Weili. I think she will do well at times. I think she will force Tatiana Suarez to wrestle multiple times against her. But I think in the end, everyone will succumb. And the movement of Zhang will be very, very good and very hard to tame. But again, it only takes 2 or 3 takedowns in a fight to win that fight. And I think I find it that my whole reasoning for my pick is I find it very hard to not see Tatiana Suarez getting those takedowns. And I know I could spend another 20 minutes here. We could have a 2-hour long betting show talking about Zhang Weili and how good she is and how good she could win the fight. But I've already said I think that's possible. But my call at the end, when you look at the price too, plus 105, like Tatiana Suarez against almost everyone should be minus 300. You know, she's that good of a fighter. You know, to get her at that price, to win straight up, it's hard to look past, and I'm not going to look past it. Bet number 1 of the week is plus 105, Tatiana Suarez and new. Bet number 2, this is one of the fights I spoke about earlier, which I went back and forth on, and I think I probably had both lads written down as my picks. And in the end, I've bailed out and given a proper pick, and I've gone for the under 1.5 rounds at minus 108 in Nolan versus Borshchev. And the reason I've gone for that is because I think both of them are the worst nightmare opponents for each other. And I'll tell you why. Like watching back Tom Nolan fights, when he came into the UFC, I was he beat a man Bogdan Grad who fought last week as well, which is a good example of what I'm about to say here in a minute. But when he came into the UFC, I watched a few of his fights doing the analysis for an old betting show or whatever it might have been, and I actually think I picked him and then he lost that fight. But anyway, what I saw in him was a real, and anyone could see it, but a real technically good fighter. Lovely jab, lovely cross, lovely technical hands, but not maybe the most athletic guy in the world. Like his athleticism works for him. You know, he's tall and he's long and he's rangy and all of that. And then on the other side of it, you have Slaviklaus, who maybe isn't the most technical guy in the world. And you know, if he was a WBA boxer or an NCAA wrestler or whatever, maybe he wouldn't cut the mustard. But when he puts it all together and he uses his athleticism, he can be very, very good against some very, very good guys. You know, his knockout of Chris Duncan says an awful lot. He came in against James at the top last time out and beat him. And he has a lot of finishes as well. You know, 6 finishes in his 8 wins. He's been finished himself once as well. You know, you look at Tom Nolan. He's in his 9 fights. There have been 6 finishes, and some relatively early as well. A lot of first round finishes. So if you're going for the under 1.5 rounds, that's that. The reason I'll say it. I was struggling to pick who I think will actually win this fight. Like, will the technical ability of Nolan just see him pick off a Slaviklaus and land a big jab, land a big cross, knock him down, land some ground upon and finish him? Or will, like I meant to mention, I went back and watched the Nicholas Mata fight, and Nolan lost that fight because Mata was willing to hit more than Nolan, was faster than him, and was like clearly the more athletic guy. If Borshchev does the exact same thing, I think he can win in a very similar way. Now, I don't think he's as good a striker as Mata. I don't think he's as good a striker as Nolan, but he's well able to wrestle as well, and he's well able to pull you down and choke you, or, you know, ground and pound you out. And again, if and I'll put it this way, I don't think Slava maybe has the best game planning with the inter fights, or maybe not up until recently anyway. I think the last fight was a little bit better. Has he moved gym? Has he gone to Team Alpha Male or wherever he is anyway? If he game plans very well for Tom Nolan, I think it's a real tough night for Tom Nolan. If he doesn't, I think it's a real tough night for Borshchev. Either way, I think someone's getting a finish here. So I like the under. I like the under 1.5 rounds. I think one of them is getting finished. and we'll see how it goes. I'll be honest, I had Borshchev written down as my answer, but the more I think about it, the more I'm going to lean towards Nolan. But anyway, I don't have to pick because I've given the under 1.5 rounds. Another guy who'll probably be winning under 1.5 rounds, and I believe the betting isn't up for this yet. If I miss, just as we speak here, the betting is up for it. But I'm not going for that now. I'm going for the straight up win for Talisson Teixeira, who's fighting Justin Tafa, and he's minus 134. The under 1.5 rounds, and that is minus 163, which is actually a really, really, really good price. I like Teixeira actually to win by knockout is plus 100. To win by knockout in the first round, or just to win in the first round, is minus 160. I went back and I watched one of his fights. I think it was in the Contender Series, and obviously we've seen a lot of Tafa down through the years. And first of all, hard to believe that this one is third from the top, if that's correct, because these are two very, very flawed, not amazing fighters. If we're being honest, I think what Teixeira has as a 6'7" guy over a 6 foot guy is just that he is taller, longer, and he hits very, very hard. At that Contender Series fight against Arthur Lopez, you know what, he has well a very good chin. Lopez was throwing a lot. He did deflect a lot. He deflected a lot of them with his hands, deflected some of them with his chin. But he's well able to throw the hands down through the middle. He's well able to land, and he's very, very, very powerful. Again, at heavyweight, it's very hard to know at 25 years of age who's going to come in and make you look a mug, or who's going to come in or make you look a genius. You know, all of his fights have been via finish. And I think to get, to beat Tafa, he's going to give you openings. We know that. He is going to give you openings. And again, I think the thing about Tafa is, right, he isn't the easiest out in the world, right? But a lot of his opponents who fight him and go to a decision are kind of afraid maybe to go all out. Like we look back at the Jurgen de Castro fight, he was by no means afraid, and he knocked him out in the first round. I think I see something like that coming here, to be honest, with Teixeira. Now, if the lights are right, I'm changing his bet. I did it last week. I'm going to change it again. I'm just going to, he's minus 134. The under 1.5 rounds is minus 163. We're going for the under. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. We'll go for the under. Minus 163. Tafa Teixeira, under 1.5 rounds. Because, one of them is going to knock the other one out, I think, at under that. I really do. I think, I said it there, Tafa is sometimes good at dragging lads a little bit longer. We have seen him go later into fights. I don't think Teixeira will be one of those lads, right? And the reason why I don't think he'll be one of those lads is what I said a minute ago. He does throw his hands. Now, I do think Teixeira would be the one to knock out Tafa. But if he isn't, Tafa will knock out Teixeira. So let's go for the under 1.5 rounds, minus 163. On the fly, changing again. Last week it didn't work for us. It's going to work for us this week. Minus 163. The under in that one. Right. I better write that down before I forget it. Okay. Let's talk about... Do you know what? Let's get the Flyer first, and then we'll talk about the title fight. So, for the Flyer, once I saw this, I had a different Flyer. Once I saw this price, I had to go for it. So, I'm just going to go for a straight up bet of Bruna Brazil in the Flyer here to beat Kong Wang, and her price, let me just double check it again, is plus 380. And the reason I've gone for that is there's multiple reasons, I suppose. I was interviewing a past opponent to Bruna Brazil today, and you can probably guess who that is, out next week on Sherdog.com. And I was very impressed by her, to be honest. I know she went on and she lost the fight to Sufsara, but she'd beat Molly McCann, looked really good in that. And I think matching her up with Kong Wang is very interesting now. After we know what happened to Kong And it only happened in November, so it's only 2 months out, and it's late November and early February. Against Gabriela Fernandez, you know, she looked good, and then she looked very bad very, very quickly. And she's only 7 fights into her career. Putting her in there against someone like Bruna Brazil, you know, who's 15 fights deep in her career, has been in there with some good people, even before the UFC, you know. I just think, you know, against someone who's fought to a decision 7 times, if Kang Wang doesn't get her out of there early, could those demons from the last fight happen again? Like, I like Kang Wang an awful lot. I picked her in the last fight. I thought, you know, obviously she was one of the biggest favorites. I don't think I gave her as a bet, but I really like her an awful lot, and I think she could be, you know, a future really, you know, champion or whatever. But maybe not. You can't, like, this is, do you know what this is? This is I'm not ignoring the last fight bet. Sometimes we can write off a fight, but other times we have to look at it and go, right, maybe this is an opportunity to pick off a really good price. Like, here's the reason we should go for this as the flyer. Plus 380, right? Good price. If the same thing happens to Kang Wang again, is Bruna Brazil good enough to take advantage of it? And I would say, without a doubt, yes. My answer to that would be yes. I think Bruna Brazil is a good all-around fighter. She's well able to hit. She can do everything, you know. And she will stay in there. She's good cardio. She'll stay in there against Kang Wang for as long as she needs to. Now, again, could Kang Wang turn it on here and look amazing and take her out there? Yes. But this is what a flyer is all about. So Bruna Brazil to win straight up at plus 380 is the flyer of the week. The final bet of the week, let's talk about the main event. The bet I'm going to go for, and this is the bet I've looked at all week, and I'm steadfast on it. The fight goes to a decision at minus 172. Not the smallest price in the world, not the biggest price in the world. I think that's a great price. As I said, watch this fight a couple of times. Talk to, you know, Eric Nixick about it. Talk to a few different people about it. And what everyone kind of comes to the conclusion of is like, this will probably be close again. Will it be different? Maybe. But I think it'll probably be close again. You know, and there is a tendency in rematches of this sort and I put this to Eric Nixick myself, like, sometimes we can overanalyze fights and say, oh, why did I lose, or how did I win? And sometimes you just have to sit back and go, that was very close. If that happened again and I had one punch here and not there, I probably would have won. Or the other way around, like, I won, do I need to change it much here? I think that's this sort of fight. I think it's going to look very similar. I think Strickland is going to probably try to put the charge on a tad little bit more. I think Dricus is probably going to try to wrestle a tad little bit more. And I think it'll probably even itself out, to be honest, and we'll be left with a very, very close decision again. I think I'm going to just lean Dricus this time, even though I thought Strickland won the first fight. At the time, it feels there are maybe a few more adjustments that Dricus could make to make the fight maybe clearer in his view. But having said that, you could say the same about Strickland, given how he ended the fight. But with that said, like, is there anything that they can, manufacture that will get them a finish, right? Like, to me in that fight, you look at it and you say, Dricus put the pace on. He landed a lot of combinations, and he landed them, when he needed to land them. That's Dricus's game. I think he probably got the best out of his game there. Like, for Strickland, I think getting the best out of his game is probably avoiding those shots and maybe being a little bit crisper on, like, the controlling shots rather than big knockout blows. But again, as I said, the last 30 seconds may contradict that if he was to fight that way again, but it's impossible to fight that way for 5 rounds. And the other side that we talked about, the takedowns, I'm sure Strickland will be more ready for them. I think he's, Eric Nixick kind of alluded as well, maybe he's going to wrestle himself a little bit more too. It's an interesting conundrum, but again, I look at all sides of it, and I don't really see a finish in there. So you're giving me -172 for it to go to a decision. I don't have to pick a winner. You know, if it's a draw, who cares? We win. Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that. So that's it. Those are the 5 bets for the week. Let's see what else we have here. So the straight up prices in the main event, -205 for Duplessis, best price -200, +175 for Strickland. I do think that's a little bit wide, to be honest. As I said, I'm picking Duplessis, but I wouldn't stray a million miles away if you wanted to pick Strickland at that price. The over under betting is interesting. You know, if you over 3.5 rounds at -250 might be a tad big, but I'll be honest, I like that fight. I like that price. Let's see the Strickland wins by decision and Duplessis wins by decision. +175 for Duplessis. For Strickland, +270. Again, good prices there for both of those. The straight up money on Suarez and Zhang Weili, +105 for Suarez, as I said, +100 best price for Zhang Weili. So that's so interesting there. If you fancy a finish, do you know what? The under 3.5 rounds of plus money, that's a pretty good bet. That's a pretty good bet there. I could see it. Suarez to get a knockout, best price +900. To get a submission, best price +290. You know, I don't know. I'm torn again. I'm torn in this one. I'm so excited by this fight. I really am. If you fancy it to go to decision, Suarez +410, Zhang Weili +290. So there's money to be made there somewhere, lads. We just have to find it. Do you know what? I like Jake Matthews as the favorite here, -220. I probably like Bellator against Crute as well. I don't think Crute, has excelled as much as maybe people would believe over the last while. -145 for Bellator. Again, he's been hit and miss as well. I think he is. I like Jack Jenkins an awful lot. Him against Gabriel Santos. I think this is a big fight for Jenkins, I think. And I can't help but like him. And a +190 best price. I probably lean towards him. The Topuria is a fighter. He's a big favorite there. Aleksandre Topuria against Teixeira. He's -380. Rangju is an underdog, +185 against Cody Steele. Don't know too much about him. I like Kevin Jousset as well, a -210. Very talented guy. Results haven't gone all his way so far, but again, probably a bet I would look at there. But let's see if we can put together a parlay. So I'm going to throw Kevin Jousset into it. Let's see if we make a bit of a bigger money parlay here. Let's do it. Okay, Jousset. Let's throw in Jack Jenkins at +190. Okay, we're gonna throw in Duplessis, best price -200, and we'll go for one more here. Let's go for your guy. No, I was gonna go for Bellator. Let's go for an easier one, Topuria, right? Okay, so the four of them. This is a good parlay. Jousset, Jenkins, Duplessis, Topuria, +711. All right, everyone. That is it for this week. Let's recap the bets again. Suarez +105. Nolan versus Borshchev under 1.5 rounds -108. Teixeira, the Teixeira Tafa fight under 1.5 rounds, wasn't that it? -163. Duplessis Strickland to go to decision -172. Bruna Brazil as the flyer +380, and in our parlay, Jousset, Jenkins, Duplessis, Topuria +711. Thank you everybody for watching. Please bet responsibly. Head on over to Amazon. Get your Valor Energy. You'll enjoy it. And I'll see you all next time. Good luck.